Barry, in your prayer time before we went online here, you mentioned two men, hostages, that were released. Actually, not released; they were rescued this past week. And got a little interesting tidbit of trivia for you that I just picked up from Hanok Young. Speaking of picking up Hanok Young, I'll, God willing, be doing that tomorrow from Columbia, South Carolina. The two men that were released were Argentinian Jews. They are Argentinian Jews. And the president of Argentina was actually in the land during that time. He is a very extreme pro-Israel person, so you can expect the prosperity of that country to begin.
Mm-hmm.
But as they were being rescued, he was at the Western Wall praying.
No connection whatsoever.
No connection whatsoever. Yeah. So, hey, folks, welcome back to Foundations for Life. Yes, we've been off for a little while with myself in Israel and Barry, of course, heading out to the foreign country of Grassy Creek. But, we've all both been in a foreign land, I guess.
Yes. It's another place in time.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, we're going to continue on this realm of guess what, folks? We're going to be talking about Israel. And to begin, I want to read something that a very good friend and part of our congregation here in Franklin posted on Facebook. And Barry, you caught this and read it. And it says this: when you're interested in something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. We must not only be interested in Israel, we must be committed. Thank you very much, Sarah Connor, for posting that. Barry, let me ask you a question. Is Israel a fad for most people?
Yes. Case in point, you bring up Israel in a teaching or conversation, and you get this immediate flush of warmth across the face. Oh, I just love the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And
until I meet one, then I don't like them anymore.
Well, there's a momentary, with a nostalgic, sentimental flush of emotion. Really, have you been to the land? Oh, no, it's not safe for me to go, or I could never go to the land, or I can't afford to go to the land. Or what?
I need to go to Hawaii.
What ministry or endeavor do you support in Israel? Do what?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I buy at Christmas every year. I buy one of those boxes that they talk about on TV. There is a verse, Mike, that is still as powerful as it was when it was spoken thousands of years ago. In a private conversation between Yahweh, our Elohim, and a 75-year-old man who had just left his home to go live in a tent in the middle of, in his estimation, nowhere. Yah says, I shall make you a great nation and bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you and curse him who curses you. And then a little different understanding of this last line. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. We can say that because of Abraham, all the nations of the world would be blessed. Or we can say, only in you will the nations be blessed. If they don't seek to be blessed because of this covenant relationship I have with you, they don't get blessed.
Mm-hmm.
So Amber, my oldest daughter, sent me a link this morning, and I could hear her screaming on the other end of the text. The text went on as she vented quite furiously about something that Candace Owens, who is considered a conservative pundit, remarked. And she was talking about Super Bowl ads and so forth, and she was lamenting that there were pro-Israel, release the hostages, rescue the hostages, encourage your representatives of government to support Israel and helping to rescue them. And she was outraged that anybody would suggest that we need to contact our government about Israel. Let's talk about our border. Let's talk about our own problems, our own stuff. Why do we want our government to send any money to Israel? And by the way, while the Super Bowl was going on, Netanyahu bombed a refugee camp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where she's getting her information from, probably from idiots.com, but I'd have to check that out.
I've heard that website crashed because it had too much traffic.
Mike, I don't know where people find humanity. The idea that Americans, let's imagine this. The drug cartels in Mexico at the border of Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, they start stealing across the Texas border, demanding some number of Texas cities be given to their control. And they go into 4 or 5 little small towns along the border, murder over 1,000 people, and grab a couple of 100 people and take them across the border and hold them hostage. Mm-hmm. How long would it take the American government to decide we're going to deal with this? And there would be military actions, there would be special op troops, there would be demands on the Mexican government. You either help us or we'll deal with you in a minute. Texas alone, Governor Abbott he would not be waiting on Washington to figure something out. He would be already across the lines taking care of business.
Yeah.
And there would be National Guards from other states that would be sending men and women across to fix this. We would be outraged. And yet when it happens to Israel, it's over there and it doesn't pertain to us. The only reason, I'll be finished in a second, the only reason that America stands as she does and has enjoyed what she has enjoyed is because of our support to Israel. It's not because we're a righteous people. It's not because we have more money than anyone else. And it's not because of our American ingenuity or the work ethic, all of which has gone down the tubes in recent years. And it's not because, we're based on Judeo-Christian concepts. It's because that thus far, in most respects, we've been an ally to Yah's people. I'm off my soapbox for a minute. I'll get back in a minute.
So you give me about 5 different directions to go to there. First of all, I'd like to ask your question of how long would it take the United States government to respond to that? Probably quite some time. They would first have to wake up some people. So, would Governor Abbott and others come to the rescue? And it would be instantaneous. There would be Americans that would be on the border in no time. Let me take you back to where you started originally, and that is Genesis chapter 12. words that were spoken to Avram on Elon Moreh in the hills of Shomron, just outside of Itamar. That a friend of mine from many years ago floated a translation of that and said, and I'm not teaching this as doctrine. I'm not saying that this is what totally I believe. He just floated a little thought. All the nations in you shall be blessed. Well, consider that.
Yeah.
All the nations in you shall be blessed. So if we take that over to the words of Zechariah chapter 14, I believe it is, and it says that in the millennium, that only those who send a representative to Jerusalem will have rain. Well, if you send a representative to Jerusalem for the Feast of Sukkot, that means you're also celebrating the rest of the festivals in your nation, which is Pesach, Passover, all the way through to Sukkot. So that nation has joined themselves to the promises of Abram and are now a nation that is in the covenant of Abram. Does that fly with you?
It makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that means that maybe both of us are wrong, but you never know. So we look today, and I said this to Honok, and I said that I was going to bring it up on this program. The tragedy of our day is that we have a generation of people that are receiving their news from TikTok. Now, why, for the life of me, someone has TikTok on their phone, I do not know. Why someone would allow their children to have TikTok on their phone is to me is insane.
But the president's got it on his phone.
Yes, even though it's illegal for him to. When the idiocy of the United States government says that something should not be on your phone, you might want to think about it. Okay. But the average person today is receiving their news from Instagram, from which I've been on Instagram just long enough to believe that it's absolutely worthless. They're receiving their news from TikTok, maybe from Facebook or something else. They're not diving in. They're not seeing the news. Such things as, well, X number of civilians were killed in Gaza, of Palestinian civilians. Has it dawned on anybody that there has not been a single Palestinian soldier killed since October 7th? Not a single one. They've all been civilians. As Hanok said, you can bomb a building, and within 2 minutes, the media can tell you exactly how many men, women, and children, innocent men, women, and children, were in that building before one stone is ever turned over.
Mm-hmm.
But the tragedy is, I heard of a person. I won't go into a lot of details. I heard of a person in a Messianic congregation recently state, well, I can't stand with Israel because of what is going on over there, because of what the Israelis are doing. Having no idea what is really happening, not knowing. But Barry, back to our thought of is Israel a fad? Here's a thought for you. Is our support for Israel because of our strings that are attached? Well, we're going to give, but I've been asked this question before, Mike. Do you give to believers in the land? We've given a small pile of money to Israel since October 7th. I wish it was a larger pile. I just sent.
Let me interrupt. You haven't just started.
Oh no!
You've been supporting Israel for years and years.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And not just with visiting the land and buying a T-shirt.
No, I don't buy T-shirts because I can't find one that fits. They shrink up on me. But we've been supporting Israel for over 20 years. This is not new for us. But somebody asked, "Well, are you supporting the believers?" I've never asked a person what they believe. I ask them what they need. Because my support for Israel is not with strings attached. Would I like for everyone in Israel to believe like me? I'd like for everybody to believe like me. My job would be a whole lot easier if everybody just agreed with me all the time. Of course, one of us wouldn't be needed anymore. But I take a trip to Israel and people say, "Well, are you going over to evangelize? Are you going over to minister to the Jews, to tell them about Jesus, and to free them from that Shabbat thing, and teach them how to eat a good ham sandwich? BLT. I mean, that'd be good." And I'm jesting a little bit, but is it not? That is the attitude.
Somehow we have set ourselves up in such a righteous place that we believe that in order for the reconciliation and the restoration of all of Israel that is prophesied thoroughly throughout the prophets, that even in the Torah, Yah says that when he sends us into exile, that there is going to be a day that we come back home.
Mm-hmm.
That he will visit us when we turn our face toward him and away from our idols, and that he will hear us even after you go through all of the curses that are placed upon a wayward people in Deuteronomy 28. There is the promise of restoration. The fact that we are not living in the land of Israel should indicate to us we're not there yet. The kingdom of Yeshua, when he comes, does not find its origination in any other place other than the land of Israel. Well, the Rothschilds, they established that land, so it can't be righteous enough for him to be there. Idiots.com. I just shudder to think, Mike, that we believe that the only way that the Jews can come into the kingdom is through our theology filter.
Yeah,
they have
through
to agree
our
with
theology
us.
filter. I like that one.
I have a means of belief. I have a filter of belief. It is that which I view the world. It is that which I determine my steps, my investments, my focuses,
Mm-hmm.
my activities. I do it. I live life through an understanding of how I believe and read this book, and who I believe and have relationship with. But the idea that Hanoch Young has got to 100% agree with me before he's accepted,
that dog ain't hunting.
That ain't going to work. Hanoch wasn't raised like me. I wasn't raised like him. We live in two completely different environments and situations. But call me whatever term makes you happy. I believe that when Hanoch goes through his morning prayers and he's reading through the text that he studies as he does, that when he cries out to the Father in heaven, that his voice is not just hitting the ceiling and bouncing back down on top of him. I believe Yah hears him. I know there are men and women in Israel, we could call their names, that when they cry out to the heavens, Yah hears them. Well, he doesn't answer their prayer because they don't pray in the name of Yeshua. Saying in the name of Yeshua at the end of your prayer is not what it means to pray in the name of Yeshua. You pray according to his heart, his character, his identity. It's praying in agreement with him. So when they're praying for the advancement of Israel, for the protection of the Jewish people, when they're praying for Messiah to be revealed to them, they're agreed. In Ephesians chapter 2 says that those that are far off and those that are near,
Yeah.
they're both accepted and received at the Father by the same Spirit.
Well, you know, you've been with me at the Cotel tunnels, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've been there where there's a group of ladies that's there praying
Yes.
closest to the where the Kodesh Kodeshim, the Holy of Holies was, and the Ark was. And it dawned on me one time. I mean, I've walked by them so many times, and there is usually this wave. There's just this. I mean, it's like stepping through a realm when you
Yes.
get there.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
most of the time, I'm like, well, just get me to the other side of this thing. There is a presence there, and it dawned on me one time that those people who have been there for these years, since 1967, and since that time place was open, part of their prayers was for the exiles to return. And I wonder if I'm sitting here today because of their prayers. So let me make a little turn here, Barry. We're all aware of the words of Romans. You know, a veil has been placed upon the over their eyes. Okay. Let me give you another one. Okay, I'll agree with the writer here of Romans regarding the veil and all that. I got that. Okay, but let me just for kicks go over to Isaiah, a guy that Paul was probably had probably read these verses, and it says in Isaiah chapter 25, starting verse 6, on this mountain Adonai Sabaoth will make for all peoples a feast of rich food, of superb wines, delicious, rich food, superb, elegant wines. That means it came from Torah and Har Brachah and Saigot. On this mountain, he will destroy the veil which covers the face of all peoples, the veil enshrouding all the nations. He will swallow up death forever. It goes on from there. The truth is, Barry, all of us have a veil. There's none of us, as Rav Shaul would say, see through a glass cloudy, but then face to face. And so to say that, well, I mean, I'm the one that sees it all totally clearly. It's just on the slight, I'm just thinking that's like, you might want to check out arrogant.com. Just thinking. So if our support for Israel is, I have heard recently, very recently, if our support for Israel is so that we can evangelize the Jews, if my support for Israel is so that I can tell them, and I use a quote from a recent person that I heard, tell them about Jesus. If that's the only reason anyone out there, and I doubt this is happening, but if that's the only reason anyone out there is giving to our ministry so that we can support and bless Israel, do me a favor, go ahead and go over to that other one that's on television at night and give to them, It'd be better to waste your money there than to taint an offering, because I don't give with strings attached. I don't give so that I can go over there on another trip and say, I mean, I've earned the right to tell you something. No, we give because it's the right thing to do. Period.
I want to pick up on the second word you used at the beginning. Is Israel a fad or a trend?
Mm.
Then you started talking about commitment when you
Yeah.
read Sarah Connor's quote. What does it mean to be committed? Commitment is long-term relationship. I'm committed to my wife and have been for the last 40 plus years. So if we're not relating well on a particular day, I'm not packing my bags and walking out because she made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Well, it's because we're committed. You may not agree with everything the Israeli government does, but you don't walk out and you don't throw up your hands and say, well, that's it. I'm not supporting them anymore. No, we're
Mm-hmm.
committed. When the United States government doesn't vote the way that you want them to in Congress, we're not applying for visas and citizenship in Canada or some other country. We're committed. We're here. To be committed to Israel means you're in for the long haul.
Yeah.
That means that your prayers consistently are for the Israeli people. That means that you visit and you go and you see those that you're committed to. If it's at all possible, if you can get there, you go. It means that you garner support for them from others, that you intercede for them to the Father, that they be well. If husbands do not pray for their wives, don't be upset if your relationship's not good.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't pray for your children, don't be surprised when they walk contrary to the values that you've instilled in them. If you don't pray for your congregation, don't be surprised if it's boring to the place of cracker juice and you're ready just to walk out the door. Cracker juice is the salty crumbs at the bottom of the bag. It's dry.
It's a Grassy Creek thing, folks.
It is. It is. So
that's all they had, and they had to use the bags for their socks the next day.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. You started it.
Commitment means the long haul. So if you're only stirred to a thought, to a prayer, to an action because of a headline or because of some emotional plea that somebody comes and presents or something of that nature, it's a fad for you. It's a trend. Commitment means consistency in the long haul.
Yeah, maybe we brought out idiot.com.
Arrogant.
What was the last one?
Arrogant.com.
Arrogant.com.
Yeah.
I'm thinking one that you'd find a lot of changes on is fad.com. Let me just add, Barry, when we pray, Shalom Yerushalayim, we're asking that his kingdom would come.
Yes. Yes, we are.
I don't know what that's going to look like. And if I pray Shalom Yerushalayim and then add in what I think it should look like, I think the scripture calls that manipulation, which is the same word that's used for witchcraft. Why don't we just pray and expect that the Father really does know what he's doing? I trust him. I trust him with when we give, when we pray, when we're there. I trust him to take whatever we do and use it for his good in a way that's much more beneficial than if I told him what to do with it.
I'll just leave with this thought. When the kingdom comes, it will not be church revival land or camp meeting as its thing.
God.
It will be much more about a Hebrew, even Jewish oriented mindset and society. The Torah will be the constitution of the kingdom. For those who say, well, the Jews just want to take over the world. Well, there is a Jew who will indeed rule over the world.
Mashiach ben David.
Be ready for that.
Yeah.
And he will not ask your permission or your vote to approve what he does. Psalms 2 says he's going to rule with a rod of iron, and you better kiss him lest he be angry. So the idea that our Messiah has come to bring the American way to the rest of the world and replace Shabbat with Sunday, it's not going to happen, folks. It's just not going to go that way.
Nope.
So it's good to go ahead and prepare yourself now and be committed.
Might be. And let me just throw this thing out here.
One more time, one more thought.
Before you try to rip the veil off somebody else's face, make sure that yours isn't so thick that you hurt them while you reach out to theirs because you can't see good enough to get their veil.
Oh.
Yeah.
Plank and sawdust spec, Yeshua.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're, when you're reaching out to get somebody else's veil, but you've got a curtain over your face, might not work out real well.
Might not.
All right, Barry.
I think we said it. Thank you, folks, for watching. If you dare, share on your social media. And we appreciate your comments. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And we'll be back again next week, as far as we know.
Bezrat Hashem.